Welcome to Toffee TV. It's a daily live extra. Me and Ned once again. Baz is probably going to Carlisle's ground or something on his holidays, or Stadium of Lights, whatever he's doing on his holidays.
Sports Direct Arena.
Sports Direct. He's still on it. And we are wondering, will today be the day that Idrissa Gana Guy finally signs for Everton? All reports suggest he will, but it's Everton.
Yeah, well, hopefully, because we got a game on Saturday.
It would help, wouldn't it?
Him in the midfield would help massively. Certainly defensively, we've not kept a clean sheet yet this season. Although we have looked like we could on Saturday. Just I can't imagine us scoring lots and lots of goals on Saturday at this moment with the forwards we've got available. So we'll get some more quality midfield.
Was any of that got to do with Idrissa Gana Guy?
Well, he's a midfielder, isn't he?
Yeah, but what's scoring goals got to do with him?
Well, what I'm saying is if he can help shore up the defence,
yeah,
and strengthen up the midfield, then at least we might not lose.
Bit of quiet time now, Ned, for you. Come on, bit of quiet time.
I'm trying to find something that'll clean your laptop.
I've told you why it runs slow.
I did have an app
It's all
for
those
that.
websites you go on.
Can anybody suggest a good app for cleaning up like all the background nonsense you don't need on your laptop?
All those websites you go on.
What, 1, 2, 3 movies?
Yeah, those. Well, yeah, those ones. Yeah, that download things into your computer.
That's why I only use them on my iPad.
Oh, okay. There you go. So let's hope Ghana does sign today. Just get that one done. It's been going on now for 2 weeks or so. I think most people are sort of like past caring, which is generally how I feel about Everton. Get that one done, and then let's move on to the other ones. The ones we desperately do need. A striker, like you said, then. A striker. Reported yesterday that Everton had looked at Brendan Diaz at Blackburn. They got battered last night 3-0 by Reading, so we put the curse on that. He was involved in that one. They got beat, but yeah, I think after the Forest game, everything will start to intensify in terms of bringing a striker in. I think this game has, well, I'd say it'd come too soon, but it hasn't really, has it? Because it's like 3 games into the Premier League season. We should have had a striker well boxed off by now. Unfortunately, we haven't. But with Delhi looking like he's moving on to Turkey, freeing up some wages, and then Everton have to, don't they? They have to go and buy a couple of forwards, one to replace him, one to go into the team, and probably another one. Obviously the Gordon situation seems to have quieted down, even though the talk out of Chelsea still is they want him, and they want a couple of other players before they're still prepared to spend a lot of money on Fofana and Aubameyang and Gordon and a couple of others apparently as well. So we'll wait and see. But Delhi, hopefully that one's done quickly. Although maybe they'll keep him for Saturday just because he's an extra squad player. I mean, there's no point sort of rushing that one. You might as well have him for Saturday and then get the deal done after that. But otherwise we're going to be another player short for this game. Someone who can come on and maybe have a little bit of influence if he doesn't start the game, which I can't imagine he would if Everton are prepared to let him go. Yeah,
and like we were saying yesterday, this is the game where we might need a bit of extra quality. They'll be doing like what you said yesterday. They'll be doing what we've been doing to Chelsea and Villa, just trying to sit back and trying not to concede. And we need to score fast. And you know what? It doesn't look like a forward's going to come in for the weekend. To be honest, I thought having Saul our top scorer in June that we'd have, at least a forward in or someone who at least scores goals by the start of the season. And our third game is on Saturday. We haven't got any points, and we still haven't really got anyone. I think some people are saying negligence, and I think that's.
Oh, listen! In a couple of weeks, transfer window shuts 2 weeks today. If in a couple of weeks, if Everton haven't got what they need, there's going to be absolute murder amongst the fan base, because we'll have had what will it have been? It'll be in 5 Premier League games and a League Cup game before the window shuts. And if Everton haven't got in, right, we already knew we needed a striker with Richarlison going. We needed a striker with Dominic Calvert-Lewin injured, and then you play 5 games in the Premier League. If Everton haven't got in what they need, then that's why I genuinely believe they will get in what they need, just because of that. Just because they'll know. I think they're doing the business. But weird rumour today, or it's seems to be a bit more than a rumour, because it's getting run through a lot of the main papers, is Begovic to Man United. That's a weird one, isn't it? They want an experienced backup for David De Gea. I mean, I wouldn't be looking for an experienced backup. I'd be looking for a better goalie. I'd be looking for a new number one for David De Gea. I think he's for me, in the last few years, he's made a lot more mistakes than Jordan Pickford has, and
he did on the weekend more than Pickford did last season.
His distribution is quite poor, and I just think that he's a goalie who seems to get away with it all the time. Don't get me wrong, he does make wonder saves, but
I think for a team like Man United, and a team that spends as much as Man United, you should always be looking for not backups anyway. You should be always looking for better players. Certainly with the squad they've got now, they can't really get much worse, can they? So, and the Begovic one is an interesting one. That, I know they've signed players like Tom Eaton before to go in and be number 2, but Begovic, in terms of, for us, we've just signed a new contract. We'd have to go out and replace him. I don't know whether there's any available on a free, so they'd have to pay a bit of money because it should be another player we've got to go and replace.
15 million they can have him for.
I was going to say 20. 37, isn't he? Something like that.
No, it would be a not. If it was to happen, it would be a very, very nominal fee, I imagine.
Yeah, but we'd have to go out.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think
we've got the backup. Andy Lonergan is not backup, and
he's just a trainer, isn't he?
He's not backup. He's what he is. He's another. You wouldn't want him having to come in for a game. Yeah. So and young Billy there as well. No, I wouldn't be doing that at this stage. I think that just adds another layer of another thing we need.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And it's just not necessary.
It's just there's no need for it. Unless he came out and went, boss, I really want to go to Manchester United because it's Manchester United and I might get games in Europe or blah blah blah. That one's a weird one. That one for Manchester United, it seems like it would be a dead easy one. But then why did they let Dean Henderson go to Forest if that's the case? If you haven't got a decent backup, why did you let him go to Forest? I know maybe they want him to be number 1 next year, and maybe that's what the plan is, and I understand that. But again, the problems Manchester United have got, and now they're trying to scrape around for a backup goalkeeper.
And they've been linked with a few goalkeepers also. I remember early on, I think it was Sanchez from Brighton, who's a good goalkeeper.
Who can goalkeeper.
Who can really push De Gea.
I think he's one of the best goalkeepers in the Premier League. So if you're going to go for him, I'd go for him to be the number 1.
Yeah.
But because I think he's brilliant.
Yeah, I don't know why they'd be scraping around a Begovic.
Him and the Brentford goalkeeper, I think are genuinely two of the best goalkeepers in the Premier League. Below.
I like Martinez at Villa, I must say.
Yeah, but I do. But he's 29, 30.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
and I think I don't know, he's a good goalkeeper. I just think that when he was at Arsenal, he dropped down to Villa. I just think that those two are primed to go to one of the if I was Tottenham, I'd be looking at one of those goalkeepers. If the next year when Lloris and stuff, I'd be looking at them. If Man United, I'd be looking at them. They're absolutely top class goalkeepers who very brave, very very modern goalkeepers, decent distribution. They're the kind of players goalkeepers have. Even for Everton, that's where I'd be looking. For the next goalkeeper, but we're all right at the moment.
I'm going to jump into the comments. Gary Ward says, howdy. Anthony Annett says, typical off striker in before the weekend. No striker in before weekend, I think he meant. James Wallen says, if Begovic goes and we need a quick replacement, would you get Ben Foster and give him control of all Everton's social media too?
No, well actually, Ben Foster. I said Ben Foster 2 years ago
when he was leaving.
When he was free. I said Ben Foster 2 years ago, and a lot of people, as they do, scoffed and thought it was a terrible idea. It would have been a great idea. Let's be all honest, it would have been a great idea. But he got into trouble at Watford quite a bit for the social media. He was told to stop. Actually,
He just didn't give a toss.
he just didn't care. He took all the fines. He probably made more money off YouTube than his fines cost, so he probably wasn't that bothered. No, I think that ship has just sailed, but he is out of contact, isn't he? So why wouldn't Man United look at him? I don't know. But
better check out of YouTube, and Arsenal and Chelsea were never bothered about it.
No, but his YouTube is number one. He was filming stuff, wasn't he? I think the Football League Championship told him that he had to stop, basically.
Well, he's filming games,
because he was like the games and stuff.
Yeah.
And number two, like the stuff he was filming, as a fan, I wouldn't like it because it was like, you're playing against these teams, and I don't. And then his podcast, he basically says what he wants on his podcast, which is great. I've got no issue with that, but I could imagine that would rub a few people up the wrong way when he at a football club. They'd be like, you can't say stuff like that, or
yeah, especially when he was slagging us off.
Yeah, exactly. Which I've got no issue with that. What he said about Everton that's his opinion. He said that you can turn them after 20 minutes, and at that stage, he was right. I'm not sure that's the case maybe right now, but he's a character to say the least. But yeah.
Jonathan says Gana would help to leash Onana forward more, and Iwobi, so hopefully create more.
Gana would be superb for the fullbacks. He'd allowed the fullbacks to push forward higher up the pitch. There'd be more. Like, don't get me wrong, Gana's not a 6. He's got a bit of everything in him. He's not a 6 who takes the ball. We know what he is. We've watched him. We've all seen him. I don't have to explain what Gana is. But he's a firefighter. Goes and puts the fires out. And if you've got wing-backs, they can start pushing high then. That's what your midfield does. That's what all the best midfielders do. That's why Rodri at Manchester City. Yeah. It's what Liverpool's 3 do. It's why Liverpool and Liverpool fans are panicking over their midfield, because they're starting to say they're too slow. They're getting on a bit. They can't cover the ground, so the fullbacks can get up the pitch, and that's where they get a lot of their assists from and goals from. So, Chelsea do the same, and when Kanté plays, you see what he does. Leicester, it was a big part of their game. It's such a big position, and I think it's I don't think Decore understands that role. Decore's still yet to play in his proper position at Everton, by the way. He's more of a number 8. For me, he's not been doing that.
It'd be interesting to see as well, because what Gana would allow you to do is, you can play that, a partnership. I don't think we would, because I think that's the reason why we brought in Cody. But you could play a back four, the partnership with Tarkowski and Cody. Now they've not got quite any recovery pace or the legs to get back, so Gana sitting and protecting them could. It allows you to do, like Lee Cars, we're all used
he's
to
a protector. It's the water carry role, that, or it's just that the best clubs that player can take the ball and work the ball and spread the play and stuff. And there's different ways of doing it. City have brought Phillips in to do that role as well, and he's, his passing range is unbelievable. But Gana would be the firefighter. He'd just get round the pitch and put the fires out for you, and that's what Everton just simply don't have at the moment. Alan, that's his job. I just don't think he covers the ground quick enough. But the Corey, that's just not his job. Everton, as I said, I know he's getting on, but when the Corey gets back, maybe now, if we do have a Gana, suddenly you'll have a player that can start breaking into the box now, and that's something that we've missed from Decore massively, because he's someone. I go back to the Arsenal game last season that we won. The minute we brought, I think it was Gomez who came on, he went further up the pitch. It happened at Burnley at home as well. He came on, we went to 3 in midfield. Decore went high, and suddenly Decore's breaking into the box.
Decore scored against Burnley, didn't he? He was just offside.
It was, yeah. Yards. But he started going higher up the pitch, and we were getting more joy out of it.
And in terms of like Gana's age and stuff, I was saying when we were first linked with him, and we weren't linked with Onana yet, or certainly we didn't know about it, was, well, this is a short-term player. What I'd like to see is Everton get the short-term type midfielder who can come in and have an effect this season, maybe the next one, but go and get the long-term replacements, or someone who's like a long-term project is now as well, who can still come into the first team. We've got that with Onana now, so I've got absolutely no problem bringing Gana in. Eric says get him in. Lionsy65 says afternoon lads, Page and fellow Blues. Though we all know that Gana will change our team, we have less than 24 hours to register a striker for the weekend.
We're not going to get a striker in.
So we're getting a bit worried that we're not concentrating on the absolute necessity we need. Really hope we get the surprise we need.
We're not going to get a cycle in before the weekend, let's be honest. We're just not. It's just not going to happen.
It's going to be interesting to see how we line up, definitely. Corey says, if we get rid of Delhi, do we have to pay Tottenham anything, or do we get out of the deal completely?
No, we'd have to pay them 25% of anything we get for them, I think, which is fine, because basically that's free money, isn't it? Basically, we've paid his wages, of course, and a lot of people say, well, that's a huge hole in the wages, but
Jay says, why are we still messing around with Gana? Yes, he has quality, but we're covered at the minute.
We're not covered.
I don't think
How
we
are
are.
We covered?
I don't think we got a player quite like Gana.
I don't think we're covered at all.
Onana can play that 6, but I'd want Onana.
I don't think we're covered.
With someone behind him.
It's your opinion, of course. I don't think we're covered, and I think Gana comes in and becomes our best midfielder for that role straight off the bat. I mean, Allen's missed the first 2 games, and maybe the club look at it and go, well, we can sell him to someone in Italy or whatever. But I don't think we're covered at all. I think he'd come in and be brilliant for us. But that's just my opinion.
Terry says, afternoon chaps, obviously everyone is expecting a transfer trolley dash in the next 2 weeks, with Chelsea and United selling big, and then the likes of Everton following as the knock-on effect of that money. Do you think there's any prospect of some more outgoings like Allen, Gomez, Gabamin, etc.? Nobody saw the Delhi move coming, so hopefully there's more to come, and we end up with a squad with bloat and his value for the wages.
Those players will be, their names will be getting circulated. So it's whether anyone bites for them. Dele Alli's name must have been circulated that he was available, and I imagine some of the players have been as well. And it depends in the last couple of weeks whether someone bites on them. If Gana comes in, does Allen's name start getting circulated? Do Everton start looking to get him out the door? Who knows? They might think there's enough cover there, depending on other. Gabamin, I imagine, with Onana coming in, and if Gana obviously signs, I think Gabamin's days are numbered. I think Gomez's days are clearly numbered. But it's whether someone's got to buy them. You know, it's very, very easy to say, why aren't Everton selling this player? You have to have a buyer at the end of the day. Maybe now this kid signed for Wolves, they'll look to replace him and maybe bring in some experience like Gomez on loan or something like that. I think lots of things are going to happen in the next 2 weeks. I think there's going to be lots of movement in the next 2 weeks. Even for the top clubs, I imagine everyone but maybe Manchester City and maybe Arsenal. I can see Liverpool doing business. I can see United doing... Apparently United looking at 11 players. Spurs, maybe not. Chelsea, 100%. West Ham, 100%. I think everyone in the Premier League, bar, as I said, City, Tottenham and Arsenal, I think everybody else will do business. And that means that when they bring a player in, the club they buy off might need replacements, and that's where Gabamin and Allen and Andre Gomez for decent deals. Everton just want the wages off the books. Everton just want a couple of £1 million back to go into the coffers. And that's, I think that's what you'll see in the next couple of weeks.
Glenn says, net only question. If Anthony Gordon is worth 50 million to Chelsea, how would the following players have been worth when we sold him in today's money? But before I read these out, it's I wouldn't say it's like a player's value. I'm more like what it's worth to us. And at the moment, we don't really have any forwards. You lose Anthony Gordon, you want to be overpaid for him, so we can get players in, sort of like compensation. One Wayne Rooney.
I can't answer, can I?
150 million. Ross Barkley, in his prime, then I don't know, 50 million. Danny Kadama-Turi, or late before my...
Sorry, what was his name?
Danny Kadama-Turi.
So what was his name?
Kadama-Turi.
Sorry,
is he the one who scored in the derby in
what's his name?
1997?
Sorry, what was his name?
Kadama-Turi. Before my time, he was late 90s.
Danny Kadama-Turi.
Before my time, I know he scored in the derby, but as far as I'm aware, he didn't have much of a decent career, so I'm not going to say how much on that one. I know he was a decent when he was a teenager. He scored for us, didn't he? Only in the derby. Was it 2-0, 98? 97. Terry says, string Man United along on Begovic until deadline day, then block the move. Payback for Sergio Romero. Yeah, they didn't let us have Romero because when he wanted to come to us, when he had because he said we're rivals or something. And what did we finish that season? Sonny says we should have went for Luis Suarez, who just left Granada. Glenn Watson says, if Gana's the firefighter, who was our big boss man in defence?
Taki.
Jonathan Rickett says, have you heard anything about outgoings with Gomez and Gabamin?
We just answered that, haven't we?
I can't imagine them playing again this season, or not, at least not being in the plans to play. Julian says, afternoon lads, is it too pessimistic to say that Saturday's game was already a 6-pointer?
No, I think it's too early to say that, but it is a huge game because we've got the next 3 games are Brentford, Leeds away, and Liverpool at home, and then Arsenal away. So, yeah, Everton need to get going. They need to get going. It's fine. It's fine. People, you can sit there going, "Oh, it's all right. It's only 2 games." Everton needs to start getting going because all what happens is the games just start passing you by, and then you're lacking confidence. You need a win. Yeah, we need a win. I wouldn't say it was a 6-pointer, but Everton need to win on Saturday.
Mathew says, up the Toffee, seen a Liverpool space this morning, all arguing with each other. Haha, only haven't won in 2 games. They wouldn't last a day as an Evertonian. Have a good one, fellas. They're all depressed because they've got like a centre-back and a forward out injured. God help them if they were like us last season. Mark Griffith says, hi guys, do you think the Chelsea link with Gordon this week maybe affects him getting into team this weekend if he's still here? No, not at all.
He's trained yesterday. Pictures that Everton put out today, I think that's from yesterday. So he's trained and, it's all smiles, isn't it? So
looks very happy. I'll do some YouTube comments. Paul Watson says, Gabamin has had a real rough time, and I think it's a real shame for him and us. Yeah, when we first signed him, watching him like for Germany, he just looked like exactly what we needed. But he's been really, really unfortunate, hasn't he? I think obviously he's had different injuries, some really unfortunate injuries. The one where like someone fell on his leg and broke his leg had nothing to do with his previous injury, and that was when he just returned basically back to playing.
Broke his leg.
Done something to his knee or something. Someone fell on his leg.
You can't claim someone broke the leg if they didn't break the leg, though.
No, someone fell on his leg.
But he didn't break his leg.
Well, what happened to him then?
Well, you can't say he broke his leg.
He'd done something to his leg and he was out for ages.
He'd done his knee and he missed the last 10 games of the season.
Spamming.
So,
is your knee not on your leg?
Well, he didn't break his knee, did he? He didn't break a bone in his knee.
Did you not just say he broke his knee?
No, you wouldn't, would you? Because that's not accurate.
He damaged his leg.
He just picked up why didn't you say you picked up an injury?
He picked up an injury then. Liam Munro says, I think we're waiting on Chelsea getting a forward so we can have Brozier. I don't think they will be because that's just silly because that's just putting your eggs in one basket that might not eventually just turn out good. Gar says Gana will complement others which will let other players play their game. Just need a decent 10 to pick them pockets. Glad we are flicking Dele off if I'm honest because he's the type of player we need around the club. I'm guessing you mean don't want around the club. Walk in Silence says I can't see us scoring against Forest unless it's a defender with a header. So it won't be enough. Yeah, we just have to hope we can keep it tight and get the first goal. If we nick a goal off a set piece, very much like Wolves did to us last season at Goodison Park, then I'd be happy. We just need the points at the moment. Jamie says which 3 teams get relegated this year?
No idea.
Probably too early to say.
Couldn't
to be
answer
honest.
That question.
Alex says scrap 3 centre backs when we get Gana and play 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1. Maybe be interesting to see. I think with Cody coming in, that actually I can still see us playing a 3 at the back because obviously if you can get your fullbacks higher up the pitch, then it'll do them a world of good.
Apparently, Nottingham Forest are finally set to sign Morgan Gibbs-White for 35 million plus add-ons.
Really, yeah. Interesting.
That would be their 16th signing of the summer.
That's incredible.
There you go.
Yeah, they're just looking at bringing players who will ultimately try and keep them up now, aren't they? I think that was the thing with Lingard, and Morgan Gibbs-White's obviously a good player. That'd be a big money signing.
Yeah, but they're doing the business, aren't they? That's the thing. I mean, people. It's very easy to write these clubs off and say, "Oh, they'll just go back down," but they're making good signings,
they're bringing some good players, and ultimately those players they brought in won.
And also the other side of it is, there's gonna be like a nice 6-week break for them at what normally is the worst part of the season for teams with weak squads, and in that 6 weeks they're all going to be able to get all their injuries sorted, all their players rested, and have lots of recovery time. And it's going to make the season, a very, very strange compared to other seasons. I don't think you can write anyone off this season simply because that busy period in December is not going to be the same. So, and I know there's going to be other busy parts of the season because of that, like we've got now with the season starting earlier, and maybe as we get into late October, early November, teams will be stretched. But that really does make it really, really different this year. And everyone, those 3 teams who come up will say they'll fancy themselves, you know what I mean? Maybe Bournemouth, they've clearly not spent a lot of money, so that's going to be maybe slightly different. But listen, they've already got 3 points on the board, so,
Well, they've got Scott Parker, who I think is a good coach. He looked good with Fulham. They just don't think they had a lot of quality in the team, and ultimately led why they ended up going down. But they seem to, they look organised, and Inky Squid says Forest will have FFP soon enough. Well, obviously their books are clean coming up, so they're probably thinking, do the best we can, spend a lot of money, and hopefully it keeps them up. If they go down, obviously they'll have issues then with the money they spent, but obviously they're taking that calculated risk. SR says without a striker, Forest will beat us. Well,
a lot of it will be about who gets the first goal. If we get the first goal and we can settle down, then I think we should be all right. But if they get the first goal, it's going to be really, really difficult. And this is where we've left ourselves. And it's in 2 weeks' time. I'll keep my powder dry. But in 2 weeks' time, if Everton haven't brought in what we need, then I'm afraid it's going to be a very, very bad season. I really feel that. So, but we've got 2 weeks. So make sure you get those players in. Because if you can't score goals, you cannot win games of football. You can huff and puff all day. If you can't put the ball in the back of the net, then I'm afraid you've got issues.
Inky Squid says we have to get a striker in before the derby, otherwise it'll be another draw. Well, the derby's after the transfer window, so yeah, if you don't get a striker in before the end of the window, then well, not only will we not have one, then it'd be a bit of a sham, wouldn't it? It'd be a bit of a disgrace, that, because we sold our top scorer. Alex says Bournemouth and Southampton and one other to go down. Interesting, a couple of people have mentioned Southampton, haven't they, in terms of relegation. I think it's a bit unfair to try and guess what teams are going down at this moment. But yes,
but if I was
Southampton
just to play devil's advocate, if I was a Southampton fan, I'd be looking at us and looking at what we need and the business and go, Everton, God, they could be easily one of the 3. I think. People from the that's why people from the outside are tipping us with relegation, because they're looking at who scores goals and where our strikers are and gone, they don't score goals. Dominic Calvert-Lewin's injured again. He was injured the whole of last season. Where are their goals going to come from? Everyone had Southampton dead and buried on Saturday when they were 2-0 down to Leeds. We come back and got a 2-2. He made a couple of subs. He brought the striker on that they bought from Rangers,
Aribo,
and they pulled it back to 2-2. So
yeah, Southampton fans might be for all I know excited about the season. They got Bazunu, good young goalkeeper. They got Aribo in who looked really good in pre-season, and he's looked so good so far. So perception really, then, isn't it? Liam Munro says Rondon has to start, and that's a failure of recruitment.
It is, absolutely.
I'd still want him to start on Saturday, definitely. I think playing a striker in the striker position is overlooked sometimes. And I think even a not fully fit Rondon for an hour could be probably better than playing a Gordon up there. Daz says, do you think Lampard and Thelwell really rate Gordon? He must do to play him number 9 in 2 games.
Probably, I'd imagine as a footballer, they really rate him. I think he's got lots of potential. He's only young, got time on his side. So I imagine they do. They wouldn't play him, would they, if they didn't rate him? It's all about knowing what you want for a player, what you feel is fair. And if Everton don't think 45 million is fair, and they think Chelsea might go higher, then fair play. Everton mightn't want to sell at any cost because maybe it's just not. Maybe there's just no point, because actually the players there, it doesn't really matter if we mightn't have to sell them. We might be able to bring in the players we want anyway without having to sell them, and you'd be selling a good player just for the cash rather than bringing other players in at this late stage. So yeah, they clearly like him.
Glenn Watson says Luca Dean is our top goal scorer so far this season. Yeah, he left 8 months ago. James says 35 million for Gibbs White is a bit steep with only 1 year left on his contract.
There you go, like Morgan Gibbs White 35 million, and people are like saying, "Oh, we should just take 25 for Anthony Gordon." Well, what's he done in the game?
Has he only got 1 year left on his contract?
35. No, he's got 2. 35 million plus add-ons for Morgan Gibbs White. That tells you what the market's mental.
Glad we've got Onana and Gay instead. Yeah, Onana is really exciting.
I mean, the deal for Morgan Gibbs White is worth 44.5 million, including add-ons. 44 million.
Has he even played as many games as Gordon in the Premier League? He hasn't, has he?
No, he hasn't played anywhere near as many. I don't think. 44.5 million, and people are wondering why we knocked back 45 for Anthony Gordon. That's the market. The market's mad.
Few people saying get Ellis Sims back. He's better than Rondon. Ellis Sims is where he needs to be right now. He needs a season in the Championship, score lots of goals there, and then Everton can decide what to do with him. They can't bring it back.
Bring him back anyway.
Yeah, there's no saying he'd come in and be any better than Rondon. Well, yeah, maybe he might be a better option, but Sims, for his own development and whatever to want to do with him, is where he needs to be right now. Jamie says, if we don't get a win this weekend, we've already blown 9 points that we could have taken. Do the club not realise the season already started? Yeah. When we were told to judge the club at the end of the transfer window, maybe we should have judged them at the start of the season. 2 games in now, we've dropped points because we've got no forwards. And those 6 points that we dropped could be huge by the end of the season. Who knows? Sonny says, don't feel sorry for Gabamin at all. Apparently when he was at Moscow, all he did was drink and party. Doesn't seem like a good character he wants in a dressing room.
Oh, he'll be going. Everton trying to get rid of him. They're trying to get rid of him, and they're trying to get rid of Gomez. We know you look at the pre-season. We know that already. They're trying to get rid of him. It's just whether someone comes in for him. The next couple of weeks are going to be very, very interesting. The transfer window, as I said, I think everyone's going to do business apart from maybe 2-3 teams. It's going to be chaotic. Hopefully we're ahead of it. Hopefully we've got our targets. We know what we want, and we're trying to get them in. Hopefully. It's difficult because we don't trust Everton. So hopefully, if they get the players over the line, then we can start having trust in the people at the football club.
Richard Dean says, hi lads.
Hello, Rich.
Late to show. What's the latest on Gana?
Just waiting now. Just waiting. Waiting for it to be done. As long as it's done by 12 o'clock tomorrow, then he'll be available for Saturday, I think so. Jay
says, course we're covered. David can come in, worry about Gana next week, while the midfielders to defend our 0 goals scored. Well, we want midfielders anyway, don't we? But would you think Gana will start on Saturday if we get him in before tomorrow?
I think there's an opportunity to start, yeah.
What about Onana?
Onana, I think he'll start as well.
Alex says young English players are massively overpriced.
But there's a quote. It's the quota, isn't it, for some teams? But See, Wolves have played a blinder here. They've brought in the Portuguese Nunes. And he's... I mean, we could have had him last year for £8 million, but Benitez didn't want him. They've brought him in and sold a player they don't really play for about the same price. They've played an absolute blinder here, by the way. And Forest have bought him. I mean, I would. There's not a chance on earth I'd go anywhere near that for 45 million for him. There's not a chance. Not a chance. I like the look of him, and if Everton had paid say 20 million for him, then I'd go, yeah, fair enough. 45 million all in for him, not a chance. But it's Forest's money. Listen, it's Forest money. They're trying to survive. If they don't survive, then they're in trouble. And there must be lots of clauses in these contracts, because otherwise they'll be in hell of a lot of trouble. But they've backed themselves. They've brought in a good quality, and they'll think they can stay up.
It's a confidence loan for Delhi, says Brain Rats. No, I don't
For
think
us?
so.
No, not a chance.
Phil Gallagher says Lampard was looking to build the team around Gordon, so why would he sell now? Given the number 10 shirt, then sell makes no sense to me.
Because you can get good money for him and bring a better player in. Probably why. I don't think you can build a team around a player like Anthony Gordon. He's not good enough to build a team around. He's not. I've seen all these, I've seen people talk about him like he's the second coming. I think he's a decent player. I don't really get the hype about him really. In terms of I've seen him mentioned in the same breath as Wayne Rooney. I'm just you clearly went round when Wayne Rooney was at Everton, because Wayne Rooney was better when he was 18 than I think Anthony Gordon will ever be.
Couldn't tie his boots.
So, and I think Anthony Gordon is a good player. He's got skill and works hard, but he's got to put it all together. He's got it, and that can be very, very difficult.
Alex says, "All right, gents, listening while skimming a porch." Fair enough.
Not fair. Skim away.
I've liked how we looked in the two games defensively, and how the team has been looking more like we want the ball instead of wanting the other team to have it, and we'll get them on the counter. Just the final product is awful. Without a striker, Ped is 110% right. We are toothless. I'll be honest. I think Gordon is great work. Has great work ethic. He's brilliant, and he never starts running, and he wants to win the ball back for me. But for me, he just wants to score from absolutely impossible angles. Tried to shoot 35 yards out on his weaker foot. Obviously, more time and age will improve that. I reckon he'll be brilliant. But for the problems we're in, if Chelsea come back with that, with any offer higher, or maybe a player we would need, I'd take that. Also, can't wait to see what Onana can do for us. Yeah, I agree. James says people saying bring Sims back is ridiculous. Been watching Everton for 30 years. On only two players have gone on to better things: Rooney and Eric Dyer. The rest we've let go because they aren't good enough.
John Stones.
Yeah. John Stones has won loads and loads of trophies.
But, I mean, we did buy John Stones. I'll give you that.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And Eric Dyer was only at Everton for a year on loan, so.
Yeah, he was at Sporting, wasn't he, Eric Dyer? Richard Dean says if we get Gana in before noon tomorrow, I'd play both him and Onana against Forest. And Terry says thoughts on Watford in the know, saying on Twitter that Thelwell has had a meeting with them this week over Ismaila Sarr. No idea if there's any truth in it, but Sarr, good player. Second time now he's gone down with Watford, so I imagine he'll be looking for a Premier League move. Interesting to see whether Watford let him go, because obviously they've lost Dennis. João Pedro's been linked with a couple of Premier League clubs, or Newcastle certainly. So yeah, I'd have him. He's a good player. He's fast, direct, scores goals. Didn't quite score as many I'd like him to, what he did last season. But if he comes in this side, he could be an important player. So who knows? See how much we can get him for. David says Onana has to start every game. Bob Stevens says you have to see Gordon in a Chelsea team to see his potential, not this Everton team. Joe says Gordon's work rate is a myth. He's got no stamina. He sprints and is blowing out of his bottom. No, he does work hard, I think. I don't think he's he's just not amazing, is he? Hash King says, I'm not comparing these to Gordon, far from it, but players like Bale and Grealish at Gordon's age was having the same struggles. Once they bulked up a bit, they were completely different players.
Yeah, I agree with that, but I think the argument is, can Everton afford to wait for that to happen? You know, I agree. Grealish was I didn't get the hype about Grealish when he was younger, and he went down to the Championship and then brought Villa back up and in that time he bulked up. He become a better player, more intelligent player. Started to control games of football, but that takes time. And the same happened with Bale. They changed his position from left back to left midfield, and suddenly that pace started being huge. But have Everton got that time to wait? Have they got the 3 years it takes to go from being, you know, a kid to a man and putting all that together? Have they got that time, or do we need that player right now? And if we could sell him and bring that player in right now, would how much of a difference would that make to the first team? So it's a hard one. And you go to somewhere like Chelsea or Manchester City or whatever, you get that time to develop in a good side as well.
Yeah. John Jones says Gordon beats his man by knocking the ball a few yards ahead of them and uses pace to get crossing. He can't dribble. Joe Briggs says we aren't in a position to turn down 45 million for someone because he runs around a lot. Well, if Chelsea have come in and the first bid's 45 million...
we are in a position where we can turn down 45 million, hoping that we get 55 million or 65 million. It's a negotiation, isn't it? If we think that Chelsea will come back, then let them come back. It's a negotiation, isn't it? You've got to... If Everton don't want to sell for 45, but they might want to sell for 55, then, you know, we'll see what happens.
Brian Moyer makes another good point. Ken McNaught won the European Cup at Villa and Lescott won the Premier League.
Yeah, fair enough, yeah.
Do a quick refresh.
But again, we brought Lescott in, didn't we, from Wolves, so... But as I said yesterday, Lescott was a player that it gutted me when he left.
Richie Dean said I'd like Gordon to come out and say that he doesn't want to leave. I really feel he'll get backlash over all this Chelsea talk. Depends whether he wants to or not. I don't know if he does. He looked happy enough in training this morning, but
I don't really subscribe to those kind of things anymore, because I just think it's all hollow. To be fair, if he plays on Saturday and he has a good game, fans will be happy with that. Really, and that'll be it. As long as he's, you know, smiling and pulls on the shirt, then everyone will be happy. So,
Dean Stanley says Pulisic, would he be interested?
No, I can't imagine it. Although he will want to play. He will want to play with the World Cup coming up. I know he's not happy at Chelsea because he's not playing. There's a World Cup coming up, isn't there? And obviously, the players who play for the United States, a lot of them don't necessarily play for their team in the first team. There are some, of course, but the bigger players, you know. I think the goalie left Man City, didn't he? I think he went on loan, so he could get games for this to make sure they're in good condition for this World Cup. But I don't know whether he suits us or he'd come permanently or what. But it'd be good for our marketing and that kind of thing.
James says after that Gibbs White deal, 65 million doesn't sound that bad now. Yeah, and this is a club that I've already spent a lot of money, so quite willing to overpay. You've got a new owner who's not really doesn't seem like he's got that much of a negotiation tactic. He just seems to be splashing willy-nilly. So
if Tuchel wants him at Chelsea and said, I want that player, then the owner will want to deliver that player. Now, if ever they went to Leicester and they said 75 for Fofana, and Leicester said no. Apparently they've gone higher and they've said no. This is the same Leicester, by the way, that took a loan out yesterday against their TV earnings, so they're not flush with money. This is the same Leicester who haven't bought one player this summer and have sold Schmeichel, and they're playing hardball. They want 100 million for him, and you know what? They'll get it, and that's what Everton will be thinking. We can get the money here. We can get 65 million for Anthony Gordon. So why just sell him at 45 when you can get another 20 million at him? 20 million in our position right now is a lot of money. It's a lot of money. But it might go to 50 or it might go to 55. But if Tuchel really wants him, they'll spend the money. They don't blink. They're not like Man City. If they've got him, and also, you know, because we're the selling club and there's only 2 weeks left, Chelsea will start panicking, going, if we want him, we have to spend the money on him. How much do you want? We want 70 for him. Yeah, then just take 70. And that's what'll happen. A lot of that happens.
Glenn Watson says, pet only question. How many Everton players have you been heartbroken by them leaving? And who are they? Top 3 if easier.
I said them yesterday. Wayne Rooney and Joleon Lescott. I give me reasons yesterday. Wayne Rooney because obviously he was a top player, one of the best in the world. Evertonian. Just broke my heart. Lescott, I was talking about this yesterday, is because when Lescott left us in 2009, I honestly felt like we were a couple of players away from having a really good side, like a really, really good side. That was the peak, I think, of the Moyes years. And when he left, it was like the signal to me. It was the signal that the bigger teams were going to come and there was nothing we could do. Man City were going to come with the money and there was nothing we could do to stop it. And I think we replaced him with this time. He was a really good player, don't get me wrong. But that was the sign to me that the players were going to get increasingly less. And the likes of Kale were going to retire and Arteta left. And don't get me wrong, we still had good players. We still had Baines and we brought in Distan, as I said. And, you know, we brought Pienaar back and that kind of thing. But we stopped bringing players in. Don't forget, there was like 2 years where we never brought a player in. There was like that clock of Everton brought a player. You know, Lescott was like when things started to go down again. For that couple of years, we were really in there, top 5 finishes, and got to the FA Cup final. And year before, we done really, really well in the Europa League, UEFA Cup at the time. And that was the sign that it was all going to change from then on. And that was like sort of the best we were going to get. And of course, when Martinez came in, yeah, we did get Lukaku in. But it was a one-season thing, wasn't it? And we did brilliantly for one season. And any other year, that would get you the Champions League. But that was just a one-year thing. Whereas that consistency under Moyes built and built and built. And we got better player and better player. And we kept on getting better players. Lescott was where it started, where it just dropped. And that, it really, that was a horrible one, that.
Last refresh on Premier. Lou Whittle says, don't understand all this hype around Terry. Apart from last season, the most goals he scored in a season is 9. Well, players generally get better at a young age. He's early 20s. I think he scored 20 goals last season. He scored 9 a season prior to that. So that's just how players improve. They score more goals. Brian Murray says, if Chelsea walk away and we watch Gordon's crosses not beating the first man for 10 months now, how will we feel?
That doesn't matter, does it? If they haven't met Everton's value, you don't sell just for the sake of it. You don't get pushed down in the transfer market. You sell when someone meets your valuation. And if Chelsea haven't met the valuation, then you don't sell. You don't sell. Doesn't matter whether you like him or you don't like him. You do not sell. For a price lower than what you want. He's our player. He's under contract.
Final comment on Premier. Brian Murray says, Moyes and his sidekick loved and embraced a glass ceiling. Stop rewriting history.
Who's rewriting history?
I have no idea.
Say that again.
Moyes and his sidekick loved and embraced a glass ceiling. Stop rewriting history.
That's what you believe. That's what you believe. Couldn't give a monkeys. But the simple fact is, we didn't have the money to build on what we had. We tried, but we didn't. You know, David Moyes had to go into the office of someone who didn't even own Everton and beg him for money every summer, and he didn't even own Everton. You know, and he played it. Yes, he played it in a certain way to make him look better. But I don't care what anyone says. David Moyes did an amazing job at Everton. Simple as that. If people want to rewrite history, that you're the one rewriting history as far as I'm concerned. He's done an amazing job. We'd bite your arm off for finishing 5th and 6th now, consistently like we were under Moyes. You know what I mean? Okay, yeah, when we played the bigger clubs, we were crap. But we beat everybody else. And God, people bite your arm off for that now. They bite your arm off for it. And then when Man City came in, we couldn't do nothing. And that was the beginning of the end. So if that's your opinion, that's your opinion. I'm not going to argue with you over it. But David Moyes, for me, it was an incredible manager at Everton. And yes, he had his limitations, but he was also an amazing manager. And I really, really wish we got him back when we sacked Marco Silva, because I think things would be a lot different now. But that's hindsight, isn't it? That's hindsight. He's doing a brilliant job again at West Ham, because he's gone back to the principles that got him the results at Everton. And I tell you, if Everton were finishing 5th, 6th and 7th on a regular basis now, you should all be loving him as well. So there you go.
With the money we had, if you looked at the teams we had that finish above us every season, if we had money, you could have said we probably could have.
We didn't have it. We didn't have any money. We didn't have any money, and Ken Wright did not one investment into the club. We had no money. There was a period of time we were bringing money in from someone who didn't own the club, and a lot of people know who that is, and that helped us get players towards in 2007, 2008, 2006. But to be finishing where we were finishing, my God, nowadays we'd be having parties if we could do that. So, right, are we done?
Chris says, I grew up in the Moyes era and miss those days. Yes,
yeah, I do. Too. I miss them, and I don't romanticise about them, because obviously the 80s were amazing and we won all kinds of trophies. But the simple fact is, and the last 8 years have been absolutely crap compared to the previous 8 years. So, in terms of going to watch Everton, so I remember we used to go to away games and win them, and now we win like 3 a season or something. So there you go. Right, we'll be back at 5 o'clock over on Toffee TV Premier. The match preview will be out at 3 o'clock on the dot. Make sure you check it out. Thanks for watching. See you later.